Sustainable materials are at the forefront of environmental responsibility, with material consumption increasing by 69% between 2000 and 2022 to reach 96 billion metric tons. There's an increasing need for solutions that minimize harm to the planet, reduce resource depletion, and promote a balanced ecosystem. These materials have generally been characterized by low water and energy use in production, longer lifespans, and the ability to be repaired or recycled. Examples include glass, which can be recycled endlessly without losing quality, bio-based polymers derived from natural resources, and rapidly renewable materials like bamboo. Concerns about environmental sustainability began as early as the Industrial Revolution. Groups like the Sierra Club was formed in 1892, advocating for conservation. The 1952 London smog disaster, which resulted in 12,000 deaths, was also a turning point in recognizing industrial pollution as a serious threat. Earth Day was first celebrated in 1970, paving a new path for global awareness. That same year, the UN held its first environmental conference, setting the stage for sustainability policies. In 1987, the Brundtland Report introduced the now widely accepted definition of sustainable development, meeting the needs of the present without compromising future generations. Sustainable practices as we understand them today are fairly recent. The 1990s saw the first major sustainability-driven innovations, including biodegradable plastics and green architecture, and the 2010s were marked by scientific advancements such as carbon-negative concrete and large-scale biopolymer production. Industries are among the biggest contributors to environmental degradation. The construction sector is responsible for nearly 40% of global carbon emissions. Steel and concrete, while essential, require immense amounts of energy to produce. At the same time, the textile and plastic industries have faced their own challenges, including waste, pollution, and ethical sourcing concerns. While sustainable alternatives exist, such as organic cotton, recycled fibers, or bioplastics, gaining traction has been challenged by difficulties in scaling. Sustainability is not just about materials. It is an ethical obligation. Should humans protect biodiversity, even if it doesn't directly benefit them? Should nature have moral rights? Ethical sustainability challenges us to rethink our relationship with the environment. Unlike environmental ethics, which primarily focuses on nature, sustainability ethics considers the intersections of human society, economic growth, and ecological balance. This broad approach helps create policies that work for governments, businesses, and individuals alike. Supporters of sustainable materials argue they help combat climate change and reduce waste. Hempcrete, for example, is a form of concrete made from hemp fibers for use in constructions. Some of its advantages include carbon dioxide sequestering, better insulative effectiveness, humidity absorption, and recyclability. Industry leaders see long-term economic benefits, including cost reductions and consumer appeal, with sustainable materials. Apple and Tesla have integrated carbon-neutral materials and closed-loop recycling processes that align with global environmental goals. Startups like Ecovative have developed mycelium-based packaging, providing a viable alternative to the conventional plastics. A study found that 65% of consumers want to buy sustainability-driven brands. That is, companies that invest in sustainability are gaining market shares, and as regulations evolve with the EU Green Deal or the US Infrastructure Bill, it could result in a competitive advantage. Major challenges, however, include high production costs, limited availability, and supply chain disruptions. In fact, only 26% of customers end up buying the sustainable alternatives, as the increased costs drive the intention-action gap larger. Greenwashing, or the deceptive environmental claims, undermines trust in sustainable initiatives and limits demand for genuine sustainable materials. Companies often exaggerate eco-friendly claims through misleading labels such as green or eco-friendly, vague terminology, and unverified sustainable certifications. For example, cotton tote bags are seen as a reusable plastic-free alternative, but a Danish study showed that it needs to be reused 7,100 times to offset the environmental impact of production. Developing nations have also highlighted economic barriers to sustainability. Many resource-dependent economies argue that strict environmental regulations threaten job security and overall stability. The high costs and limited infrastructure required to support sustainable materials make its adoption challenging, particularly in the emerging markets. Nevertheless, the train of sustainable materials is moving and led by some tech giants. Tesla's Gigatrain reduces CO2 emissions by 50 tons per week, showcasing sustainable logistics. Meanwhile, social media is fueling awareness. #SustainableLiving has over 2 million Instagram posts, and TikTok users share DIY projects using recycled materials. Engineers play a crucial role in sustainability. They select eco-friendly materials, optimize production processes, and ensure compliance with environmental regulations. Organizations like Engineers Canada emphasize that engineers must inform policymakers and businesses about the long-term benefits of sustainable solutions. To drive change, we must invest in material science research. push for stricter environmental regulations, and hold corporations accountable for sustainability claims. Governments can provide incentives, such as tax breaks and subsidies, to accelerate adoption. International standards, like ISO guidelines and LEED certifications, can enforce best practices globally. Carbon credits also play a key role, financially rewarding businesses that prioritize sustainable materials. These incentives help offset initial costs and drive market-wide transformation toward a low-carbon economy. The future of sustainability depends on informed choices. Whether as consumers, engineers, or policymakers, we all have a role to play. By embracing sustainable materials, we can reduce environmental impact, drive economic innovation, and create a future that is both prosperous and responsible.